Hey, it's Lou. So I'm back with another video. This time around, no movie review or ranking. Kind of wanted to do something different, specifically a villain wish list for the upcoming Batman Part 2. And now that we kind of got a little hint on what Matt Reeves is going to do with this movie and what villain he's going to use, that unfortunately did cut a lot of the villains I would have liked to see in this movie. So I'm gonna have to just give those guys an honorable mention. So he said that he wants to use a villain that hasn't been used before. And that's a great idea, but I still would have liked to see a couple of these other villains. So instead of putting them on the list, I'll put them in an honorable mention. But I'm excited because now the film's kind of going full steam ahead somewhat. It's going to start filming soon. So without further ado, let me just give away my honorable mentions. All right, for my first honorable mention, I got Mr. Freeze. Really shame that Matt Reeves isn't going to use him because I think he would have done a fantastic job with Mr. Freeze. I would have loved to seen his interpretation of the character, and he has expressed interest in doing him, but I think by this point with Matt Reeves' recent comments, I think Mr. Freeze is just off the table. Unless there's a caveat to his comments. Maybe he's saying that he'll do a character differently, like even if they were adapted before, but I doubt it. I think he's just gonna pick a character that's just never been done before. The second one I got is Deadshot, another character that would have fit in very well in Matt Reeves' universe. We'll have seen how he would tackle him. The next one I got Clayface is because he's getting his own movie, and even if he were gonna tackle him, it would be how Clayface was portrayed in the Bronze Age. And I know some people wouldn't like that, but I personally would have liked it. But Clayface out of the question because he's getting his own film, so I'm pretty sure he's a no-no. And not lastly, next I got Black Mask, another character that I would have loved to seen in the Batman Part 2. Maybe not as a main villain, but as a secondary villain. So sucks, especially since, he doesn't show up that much in live action. I mean, we got one live action version of him with Ewan McGregor, and I think he did a really good job. But I would have liked to see how Matt Reeves would have tackled this character. And lastly, Hush. And it's not so much because I don't think he's gonna be in it. Honestly, I think he is gonna be the main villain of the Batman Part 2. Mainly because he was just teased in the last movie. I would be a little surprised if he wasn't the main villain, but I gotta be honest with you, I kind of don't want Hush to be the main villain. Nothing against him. He is a decent character. I don't love him, but I don't hate him. Like if he was in my Batman's favorites list of villains, he wouldn't be that high. And he's just not the villain I want for this movie. I can think of a whole bunch of other villains that would be more interesting. But if Matt Reeves does tackle him, which I think is probably gonna happen, I have nothing but faith in how he would portray this character. He might even do a better job than how he's portrayed in the comics. So not against him being in the movie that much, but I would just prefer someone else. But those are my honorable mentions. A lot of these characters are most likely not going to show up, except for Hush. I think he is probably going to be the villain, but that's it really. Let's get on to the list. All right, at my number 5, I got Deathstroke. I'm going to try to put an image somewhere up here for visual representation, but yeah, I'm kind of cheating with this one because Deathstroke was in a live action movie, but to be honest with you, he was barely in any of those films, so I don't really think this is cheating that much. And I really want to see Deathstroke fully, fully utilized in a live action film, and I think Matt Reeves is the guy to give us a really good Deathstroke. I don't really have ideas for stories. I mean, the only thing I can think of is maybe a part of the deeper corruption that he talked about is just somebody hires Deathstroke to off Batman because he's getting too close to some kind of mystery that these people don't want to be solved. But yeah, Deathstroke would be cool to see in this film, honestly. Just imagine the fight scenes we could get in this film. And I mean, the fight scenes in the first movie were already pretty good, but if they put him in the movie, the fight scenes would be even better. I know a lot of people are going to be against this because that was the idea for Ben Affleck's movie, but I personally am not. I mean, that idea is never going to be used, so why not repurpose this character for a newer film? But yeah, my number 5, Deathstroke. I would love to see him in this movie, but we'll have to wait and see if that will happen. I don't think it will, but we'll have to wait and see. I hope he does show up, but I really doubt it. At my number 4, I got Professor Pig. Now, I gotta be honest with you, I really doubt he'll be in the Batman Part 2. Not because, he's a well-known villain or not. I think that's part of the reason why you probably should put him in the big screen so people can learn more about this character, but mainly because he's a really sick character. Like, I think he would push the boundaries of PG-13, and I just don't know if Warner Bros. Would even be okay with him using that character in this movie. I could be wrong, but I really feel like you would have to push a lot of boundaries with this character for it to work in a PG-13 setting, which I think he could still work in a PG-13 setting. Professor Pig could work. I'm sure Matt Reeves could find a way. But again, I don't know how he would fit in the story of further corruption. I mainly have him on this list is because I think it'd be interesting to see Professor Pig in a Batman movie in live action. And I think Matt Reeves could give us something really interesting and really scary with this character. Like, he is a very scary character in the comics and in the video games, at least in Arkham Knight. Like, he is very disturbing. But that's probably the biggest reason why I can't see him being in the Batman Part 2. Just because I feel like you would really have to push boundaries. And I think he would probably only work in an R-rating setting. But I could be wrong. Like I said, Matt Reeves could find a way to work around those restrictions and give us a pretty scary and disturbing version, just with the implications of alone of what he does. But I recommend you read more about Professor Pig. He is a pretty creepy character. He makes my skin crawl, honestly, and I think he would be interesting to see in the Batman Part 2, but I really doubt he's going to be in it, just because of, it might be a bit much. But if he does end up using him, I wouldn't be against it. But like I said, very unlikely. All right, at my number 3, I got Lady Shiva, another character that I really, really want to see in live action ever since playing Batman Arkham Origins and watching her in Beware the Batman. I think she'd be such a cool villain to utilize in the Batman Part 2. For story reasons, same as Deathstroke, just have someone hire her to take out Batman. I know, not creative, but I'm not a screenwriter, so that's the best I can come up with. But I'm sure Matt Reeves and Mattson Tomlin could come up with a better reason for why Lady Shiva would be in this film. But the main reason I have her is just because I think she'd be a really cool villain to use in this movie. Like, the fight scenes, just like Deathstroke, would be amazing. I would love to see how her costume would look like. And again, this would be a good way to introduce people to a villain that a lot of casual viewers wouldn't know about. But yeah, I would love to see Lady Shiva in this movie. I think she'd be such an interesting choice to pick for this film, and I don't think it'll happen. I'm going to be honest with you. It's most likely not going to happen. I honestly don't think they're going to go with her, but it'd be cool if they went with her, and I would love to see that. So yeah, she's my number 3. All right, at my number 2, I got a character that I always wanted to see done in a movie. He has been done in live action, but I would love to see him done in a movie, and that is the Mad Hatter. Now, I don't got a lot of a story reason. There are videos on YouTube explaining how the Mad Hatter could be utilized in the Batman Part 2, but I just would really like to see him in this movie. And the best part is he's never been used in a movie, so I think he'd be a very interesting choice to go with. The only thing is that you got to change some stuff about his motivations. Like, you can keep the stuff about him going after women, because in the books he goes after women and captures them because he wants an Alice of his own. I'm not gonna get too in depth, but that alone is pretty creepy enough and pretty disturbing. But there's another thing that's been put recently in some other comics that makes him even more disturbing. I'm not gonna say what it is because I don't want to get this video to get taken down, but let's just say it's really, really messed up, and that's the one thing that I don't want to see be put in this film. Like, we don't need that. Him being a serial kidnapper is disturbing enough. We don't need that other aspect that I'm alluding to that I won't say here to be put in the film. I feel like that would just be way too much. But the Mad Hatter, like I said, he'd be an interesting villain to use. I would love to see how they would use his abilities. I don't think it'd be the way he would use it would be with technology. Like, he does use hypnosis to capture people. I think the way Matt Reeves would do it is that he would use drugs. He would drug people to capture them. But yeah, Mad Hatter, my number 2. I think he'd be a very cool and interesting villain to put in the Batman. And the best part is that he's never been used before in live action in a movie. Not on the TV show. On the TV show he's been used, but I mean in a movie. And I just think he'd be a very interesting choice to go with. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities. I'm not going to say he's a strong contender, or at least number 1, but I think second place would be good for him to be used, and I think he could still be used. It's not guaranteed, but I think he could show up in the Batman Part 2, but only time will tell. And at my number one, I got a villain that I'm guaranteed that, or at least casual viewers, has never heard about, and that is Prometheus. My God, I would love to see Prometheus done in the Batman Part 2. He would be such a very, like, out of all the characters I talked about, he'd be the most interesting to put in this film. So if you don't know who Prometheus is, he's basically an evil Batman. Like, he kind of has the same backstory as him, except his parents were gunned down by police because his parents were robbers, they were criminals. And ever since that happened, he decided to grow up to become a vigilante. He decided to grow up to be a criminal, but a costume criminal. But instead of going after other criminals, he goes after police. Like, he hunts them down and kills them because of what they did to his parents. So again, he's like an opposite of Bruce Wayne, an evil Bruce Wayne. And I think honestly, he's the most interesting evil Batman. And his costume looks fantastic, and it would look amazing in live action. Like, story-wise, we could still actually think he would fit the most with deeper corruption, because again, the police are pretty corrupt in this. I wouldn't change his origin too much, like still have that hatred of the police he has and still have his parents being criminals. But I guess one way we can change is that the criminals did surrender and the police shot them either way, and that could be a strong motivation for him to hate police officers. But he's a character that's never been used before in a movie. I think he was used in live action once in the Arrow show, but I wouldn't want how they would do it in that. I want it differently in this movie. And also, he didn't really look like Prometheus that much, but I would love to see Prometheus in the Batman Part 2. He's probably one of the most obscure villains I got in this list, and I think he'd be the most interesting villain to tackle in this movie. And again, the fight scenes would be amazing, and just the idea of Bruce fighting basically an evil version of himself, how he could have been and how he could have turned out and used his abilities for, instead of fighting crime, but committing it. I think it's a nice contrast between Bruce and Prometheus. Like, he's a nice contrast for Batman. So I would love to see Prometheus in the Batman Part 2. I'm not going to say it's a strong possibility. Like I said, I'm pretty sure Hush is going to be the villain of this movie. But out of all the characters I mentioned, he would be the most interesting one to adapt. And the best part is, he's never been used before in movies. And I think this would be a nice way to introduce people to this character and research him more and learn more about him. But yeah, he's my number one. I really would love to see Prometheus. I think he's probably the most unique pick I got in this list, and he's a character that I desperately want to see in this film. But I gotta be honest with you, I don't think they're gonna use him. I honestly think it will be Hush, but God, I hope it's him and not Hush. I would rather have him. Oh, I would rather have any of the villains I mentioned before him besides Hush. But yeah, that's my list of villains I would love to see in the Batman Part 2. I'm pretty sure a lot of these aren't going to happen, but hey, there's nothing wrong with wishful thinking. But thank you for watching. Let me know what villains you would like to see in the Batman Part 2. I'd be very curious to hear.